Hurricane season is here.
Every indicator looks like it's going to be a busy season.
In the midst of a pandemic, it's time to prepare for a storm.
Hurricanes don't wait for convenient times to arrive. Floods don't give us the courtesy of giving us a timeout.
It's time. Prepare your home. Prepare your family.
You have to prepare every year.
Prepare. And together, we'll get through any tropical trouble that comes our way. Presented by Generator Industries, KPRC's Severe Weather Team brings you this hurricane and flood survival guide.
Good evening. I'm KPRC Chief Meteorologist Frank Billingsley, and I've been forecasting weather in Southeast Texas for more than 30 years now. I've been here with you for quiet storm seasons and busy ones. No matter what, the message is the same. Preparation is the key to surviving a storm and getting through it with less stress and less heartache. And so that's our focus again tonight. We'll go over supplies, insurance, evacuation routes. We'll also talk about how COVID-19 could impact disaster response. The biggest thing we aim to do through all of this is to help you prepare. So whether you're a longtime Houstonian like me or you're new to Southeast Texas, there are things that we should all be doing right now to get ready for this hurricane season. And we already have a tropical system we've got our eye on. Cristobal has the potential to impact the Gulf Coast in a matter of days. Our severe weather team will be tracking that for you on air and online. And we'll be here for any storm that develops during what's predicted to be a busy season. Before Cristobal this month, tropical storms Arthur and Bertha brought rain to the East Coast in May. The National Hurricane Center says that's just the beginning. There's a 60% chance for an above normal season due in part to warmer Atlantic water and expected monsoon activity over Africa. The expectation is we'll see 13 to 19 named storms, with 6 to 10 of those becoming hurricanes and 3 to 6 of those becoming major hurricanes with winds more than 110 miles per hour. Now, this is important information, but as we know, it only takes one powerful storm with its sights set on our Gulf Coast to make all the preparation necessary. And 2020 has already been an unusual year with the spread of COVID-19. Local leaders are taking that into account as they prepare. My colleague Britta Merwin shares what a disaster response could look like in the middle of a pandemic.
The building behind me houses the Harris County Office of Emergency Management. Typically during a weather disaster, this is headquarters for many of the men and women who work around the clock managing our area's response. Now, COVID-19 has changed how they operate, and it could possibly change how people are helped if we're hit by a storm this summer. It's been just 9 months since Imelda pounded Houston, and just 3 years since Harvey brought history-making rainfall. The images are still fresh in our minds, and for some, so are the wounds.
Disaster.
Hugh and Gladys Williams lost their West Houston home.
By Wednesday or Thursday, we had pretty close to 4 feet of water in the house. And so, it was probably done for at that point.
Forced out by Harvey's fierce floodwaters.
I went back to get my wife. I said, we got to get out of here.
Thousands upon thousands of people sought shelter next to people they'd never met. Now imagine dealing with this heartache, this struggle, and a deadly virus at the same time.
We certainly have a new set of challenges entering hurricane season with COVID-19.
Harris County's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management team is focused on 4 things.
How do we do mass evacuations, mass sheltering, mass transportation, and potentially recovery?
We've been working with the Red Cross, for example, on contingency plans for sheltering during COVID-19 if needed.
At shelters, expect screening, including questions about travel and health, symptoms, and frequent temperature checks, and COVID-only facilities to keep the infected from the healthy.
Everything that was important for hurricane season last year is important right now. But when you throw COVID in, our successful response is really going to depend on what people are doing for social distancing and for making sure they can sanitize, wash their hands, and wear a face covering.
We've posted a link to FEMA's hurricane season document detailing its COVID-19 guidance plans on clicktohouston.com/hurricane.
While local leaders plan for a potential evacuation, do you know when your own family would have to leave or where you would go? Our traffic expert, Annabeth Reyes, has the keys to a safe evacuation.
In order for our evacuations to go smoothly and safely, you must know your zone, know your route, and know if you're among the many people who should not leave.
Y'all are no stranger there to the dangers of water. 90% of the fatalities in tropical systems historically is water.
With every tropical disaster, it's the water that claims the most lives.
The most common cause of death in a hurricane is storm surge.
Hurricane Ike in 2008 sent a surge of water several feet high from the Gulf onto land. If local leaders tell you to evacuate because the storm's size and speed make a surge possible, you need to be ready to go. That's why you must know your zone. Families in the purple zone will be the first to be told to evacuate. If the storm is strong enough, expect the yellow zone to get the evacuation order next, followed by the green and orange zones. As you'll see, a big part of our region is not in an evacuation zone and would be encouraged not to get out on the road. This is important so we don't see a repeat of the Hurricane Rita evacuation in 2005 when dangerous gridlock on highways sadly resulted in lives lost. If evacuations are called and you need to leave, you must know the best route. Wide shoulders on some highways will become evacu lanes, creating an extra lane for traffic. Contraflow lanes are also possible. That's when inbound highway lanes are reversed, so both sides of the highway go in the same direction. If you live in an evacuation zone but would not be able to leave on your own, register for evacuation assistance now by calling 211. This is something you have to do every year.
And remember, even if a storm isn't strong enough to warrant evacuations, our area floods when we see a lot of rain. You could damage your car or worse, lose your life if you drive into high water. So turn around, don't drown, and remember, stay safe this hurricane season.
Whether you have to evacuate or take shelter in your home, having a plan can help everything go more smoothly and give your family peace of mind. We have a lot of resources available to help you with your storm preps right now on our website. You'll find checklists for before, during, and after a storm in the hurricane section of clicktohouston.com. Still ahead, a progress report where work stands on the most expensive projects designed to protect us during future catastrophic storms. And while most take shelter, they head into the danger. How Texas A&M Task Force 1 prepares to save lives during a disaster. That's next on KPRC's Hurricane and Flood Survival Guide. June 1st is the official start of hurricane season, but storms don't always wait for that calendar date. As we mentioned, tropical storms Arthur and Bertha formed in May, and we're watching Cristobal this week. The next named Atlantic storms will be Dolly and Edouard. While a storm can devastate a region in a matter of days, sometimes hours, there are a number of projects to prevent future damage that have been in the works for years. So how much longer until all that work is done? KPRC investigator Robert Arnold gives us a progress report on some of the area's biggest and most costly flood control projects.
This is the Barker Reservoir water control structure.
The source of so much attention during Harvey's historic flooding, the Barker and Addicks reservoirs are getting an upgrade.
It's brand new. We just put it into operation February 14th.
Built in the 1940s to control flooding along Buffalo Bayou, Addicks and Barker reservoirs are dry most of the time. But during Harvey, the water in Barker swelled to 101 feet above sea level. In Addicks, it was 109 feet. Water poured into homes built inside the reservoir. In downstream, homes along the bayou flooded when water was released from the dams to avoid a total failure.
We don't have to worry about erosion in the vicinity of the new structure.
The Army Corps of Engineers says a $75 million project started in 2015, 2 years before Harvey, will further reduce flood risks.
We're able to better control and better manage the flows of water from Barker Reservoir into Buffalo Bayou.
Work is also underway to ease flooding fears in the Kingwood area.
We have been doing quite a bit of sediment removal. There's some multiple projects ongoing along Ben's Branch and some of the other tributaries that drain the Kingwood area as well as around Lake Houston.
Russ Poppy with the Harris County Flood Control District says there are currently $400 million worth of projects underway, including Brays Bayou, which is nearly finished. Some 15,000 homes should see an immediate impact.
Those 15,000 homes will definitely start seeing some benefits if we start getting some excessive rainfall in the Brays Bayou watershed.
The county has also been buying out homes that flood frequently. 500 purchased so far, and another 400 should be closed by the end of summer.
That's immediate risk reduction because those residents and their belongings and that structure is no longer there. Once we buy the home, we actually remove it and we let that lot go back to nature.
Then there is the Texas Coastal Surge Protection Project, which aims to build 76 miles of floodwalls, levees, and dunes along the Bolivar Peninsula and Galveston Island. The final study for that project will be submitted to Congress next year. And if it is approved, then construction could start in 2025. It is estimated it will take 10 years and $32 billion to complete that project.
Since there's no way to prevent all flooding, we're fortunate there are heroes. They jump into action to get people to safety. As meteorologist Justin Stapleton shows us, search and rescue teams train year-round so they're prepared for an emergency.
This is part of what training looks like for the Texas A&M Task Force 1 Urban Search and Rescue. These guys are ready for just about anything.
We have different situations where we need different specialties.
Here, they're in Rapid Currents practicing tricky swift water rescue maneuvers. Check this out. This helicopter search and rescue team is practicing dropping into a school bus that's stuck in the rising water. Training also goes below the surface to practice an underwater escape from a helicopter. And here, task force dogs are trained to find people trapped under collapsed buildings. From land to the air and underwater, Task Force 1 is prepared for whatever hurricane season might bring.
We respond when the local communities have been overwhelmed and they need support, whether it be hurricanes or tornadoes or exploded buildings.
Task Force members work alongside first responders in the community where they're called to help.
The communities themselves are preparing themselves for more types and diverse emergencies. They're doing their planning early.
Everyone planning, preparing, adapting to the possibility of having to respond to a disaster while we're still facing COVID-19.
We've certainly increased our equipment cache for that personal protective equipment that's required to keep our people safe when they're in the field.
Other extra precautions include members taking extra vehicles, monitoring COVID hotspots, and also considering COVID testing depending on where the teams are sent. Social media is also playing a bigger role in how these teams do their jobs. This is something they saw firsthand in April when the F3 tornado hit on Alaska in Polk County.
There were many residents that were posting on social media of, I'm okay, hey, this section is really hit hard. It gave us an idea while we were driving in to make sure that we were able to move as soon as they wanted us to start moving.
Task Force 1 is life-saving help on call when people need it most.
When they're overwhelmed, they know that there's someone there that they can call and that can come and help in their time of need.
Being prepared can calm a lot of anxiety before a storm. Still ahead, what supplies you should get now for your family and your pets. And wind, flood, mold, the keys to making sure you have the right insurance to cover the damage you may face in a weather disaster. But first, our goal is always to keep you safe. Online right now, you'll find information on how to escape your car if you end up in rising water. You'll learn exactly what to do if a power line comes down on or near your vehicle. And we'll break down the safest spots to take shelter in your home. That potentially life-saving information is there for you on clicktohouston.com/hurricane. No matter where Tropical Storm Cristobal goes in the coming days, it's a reminder we must start preparing our hurricane kits. As meteorologist Cambrell Marshall tells us, taking action now can save you from scrambling for supplies later.
While cloth masks and sanitizing products have been added to the list of suggested items for this storm season, there are other items that should be on your list year-round. Now is the time to make sure that you have them all on hand.
My advice and moral of my story is to be prepared before the day before.
It's something Kellen Simbera takes very seriously. She waited until the last minute to prepare for Ike back in 2008.
My sister and I were living together and we didn't own a flashlight. So we went to Home Depot about 6 hours before Hurricane Ike was supposed to hit, and there were 0 flashlights left. So we ended up at the toy store buying flashlights that were zebras and dinosaurs that made roaring noises. We spent our time in the dark with animal flashlights.
If you don't want to find empty shelves when you shop, start getting what you need now. That includes 1 gallon of water per person per day, and non-perishable food for at least 3 days, along with a manual can opener. Make sure you have sanitation and personal hygiene items, along with a first aid kit and a 7-day supply of any medications, a battery-powered or hand-crank radio, a flashlight, and extra batteries may come in handy. And you'll want to keep some extra cash with you in case banks and ATMs are not operating. Copies of personal documents like passports, birth certificates, and insurance policies should be kept in a waterproof portable container in case you need to evacuate quickly.
Another thing to consider adding to your supply kit, a whistle. This small item could be just what it takes to get someone's attention if you need help during or after a hurricane.
If you have pets, don't forget them when picking up supplies. You'll want to have a 3-day supply of food for them, as well as extra water and any medications they need. Make sure you have current vaccination records and a pet crate or carrier. Having a current picture of your pet, having the animal microchipped, and making sure they have a collar and tags that can all help get your special pet back home if they get loose during a storm. If you're new to owning a house in Southeast Texas, one thing you must look at now is your insurance coverage. Having a homeowner's policy may not be enough if you suffer wind or water damage. So consumer expert Amy Davis breaks down the different types of insurance you should consider to make sure your home is protected.
More than 6 out of every 10 homeowners who flooded during Hurricane Harvey had no flood insurance.
I regret we didn't do it before. It's pretty minimal compared to what it's cost to rebuild.
The average flood policy in Texas cost about $700 a year. The lion's share of policies are from the National Flood Insurance Program, and they take 30 days to become effective once you sign up, so don't wait.
The only guaranteed way to make your family whole again in the event of a flood is to have flood insurance.
But flood insurance only covers water that rises into your home. Wind is another story and another policy.
The Texas windstorm policy does not cover flood. It only covers wind and hail.
A residential windstorm policy from the Texas Windstorm Insurance Association, or TWIA, cost on average about $1,600 a year. This year, because of the pandemic, TWIA is only requiring policyholders who are struggling financially to pay 25% of the premium up front and giving them an extra 75 days to pay the remaining amount. There is no waiting period for windstorm insurance, but once a storm is in the Gulf, TWIA will not write new policies. Other things to think about: neither policy covers damage from mold or living expenses in case you have to move out of your home while it's being repaired. And no matter how much it costs to rebuild, flood insurance from the National Flood Insurance Program will never pay out more than $250,000.
We're trying to make it easier to get the coverage and easier to use the coverage at time of loss.
Gordy Bunch of the Woodlands Insurance Company, or TWICO, is one of several private companies now offering flood and wind insurance with no waiting period and payouts of up to $1 million to rebuild your home. By combining all of your policies together, you pay one premium and work with one insurance adjuster after a hurricane, instead of waiting for a flood adjuster, a windstorm adjuster, and another adjuster from your homeowner's policy.
This product was born out of seeing the frustrations of our own customers and knowing that we could do a better job and making it a lot easier for them.
No matter where you get your flood and windstorm insurance, the next thing you should do is take pictures and video of your home and belongings. Store them in a safe place so you have them if you do need to file a claim. If you take these steps now, you'll be on your way to rebuilding faster if you suffer property damage this hurricane season.
During severe weather, hundreds of thousands of people can lose power in an instant. Still ahead, the improvements CenterPoint's making to reduce the outage risk. And what you need to know if you have a generator at home. But first, if the power goes out, how long is the food in your fridge and freezer safe? How can you know if it thawed and then refroze while you were away? You'll find answers to those questions, along with ways to keep your phone charged during an outage, right now on clicktohouston.com/hurricane. (2008), the year that Hurricane Ike's powerful winds left millions without power during a sweltering September. Since then, CenterPoint Energy has taken steps to improve our electrical systems and get the system up and running faster after a disaster. A lot of new families have moved to the Houston area since Hurricane Ike, but those who were here remember that many people were without power for days, some for weeks. As meteorologist Eric Brake tells us, while CenterPoint is working on long-term solutions to outage issues, many homeowners have invested in generators as an immediate solution to keeping important appliances running. And if you have one, there are things that you need to do now to be safe.
Whether you have a professionally installed standby generator like this one or a smaller portable unit, now is the time to make sure your generator is ready for hurricane season.
It's important to maintain the engine.
Before a storm forms, have your generator serviced.
It's going to have spark plugs, it's going to have an air filter, and it probably is going to need an oil change.
If you have a portable generator, make sure you use it outside only.
It would need to stay a safe distance away from the house.
Keep it 20 feet away from the house, away from doors and windows, and do not use it during the rain.
During the season, it's a good idea to start your generator at least once a week, especially a portable generator.
Make sure your generator has plenty of fuel and that you have additional fuel stored in a safe location. Finally, know your generator's capabilities and know which items in your home it can safely power.
While generators are great for individuals, CenterPoint wants you to know that they're working hard, number one, to reduce the number of outages, and number two, to get the power on faster when outages do occur.
Done a lot of work in advance of the hurricane season.
Martin Narendorf is Vice President of High Voltage Operations for the company. He says they've learned a lot since Harvey, specifically about protecting valuable substations. Junction boxes, where wiring connects, have been moved to higher positions when possible. In some cases, they've piled up mounds of dirt to build higher.
In other cases, we've used platforms. We actually elevate equipment.
And when up isn't an option,
we use flood walls. We've had excellent results from the flood wall application.
Storm surge maps, FEMA maps, and information from NOAA help CenterPoint identify substations most at risk, giving them an edge to both prepare before and repair damages after the storm.
CenterPoint also has a power alert service. If you sign up online, you'll get a text if your power goes out and another update when it's restored. This could be helpful if you're away from the house during an outage. We thank you for joining us this evening. Remember, we'll be here with you no matter what develops this storm season. For now, from all of us at Channel 2, have a good night.